What is your absolute favorite RPG that you ever played? What game just conjures memories of jumping into a role, that whether it's the combat, whether it's the gameplay, the item finding, the story? What RPG just left an indelible mark on you? That is the question I asked a lot of my absolute favorite content creators. Creators that wanted to share their love of RPGs with you. And that is also what I asked you, because I wanted to know what you thought was the best RPG ever and why. But let me get out of the way, because I am not the star of this video. I'm not the star of any of these videos, but this one is particularly special because these people are the stars of this video, and you. Join me as we discover what is the best RPG ever made.
For me, it's going to be Dragon Age Origins. I'm a little biased because it's one of the games that I grew up on. I think it's one of the games that represents the heart and soul of what makes RPGs good. I've always been more of a fan of games that give you choice over linear. If I can create my own character, make my own choices, get different outcomes, and have an expansive story, it doesn't really matter to me what the gameplay is like. Although Dragon Age Origins did have its good moments when it came to the combat, really good moments. The executions were so iconic. And speaking of iconic, when a game is capable of making me remember almost every aspect of it, even years later, I think it's done its job at becoming legendary. Also helps that I played through it at least 20 to 30 times, but still. I remember how intense it was waking up to the attack of Highever, or siding with the werewolves versus the elves in one playthrough and meeting the Lady of the Forest, how annoying yet satisfying it was to go through the Circle Tower, the reveal of Flemeth's true nature, romancing Leliana or Morrigan, but really Leliana to hear that song, fighting a dragon for the first time, or even the Archdemon itself in the final assault when we gathered the army. And by far something that will never ever leave my mind is the Siege of Ostgard. It's something that I to this day would love to see recreated in MMO form because of just how insane it was. It's like the Rite of Rohirrim implemented in game form. When it comes to RPGs, Dragon Age Origins will always be one at the top of my list. 100 years could pass and I'm never gonna forget some of the experiences I had in this game. If you haven't played it already, I don't know what you're doing, but Dragon Age Origins will always be one of the benchmarks of how I was able to evolve as a gamer.
My favorite RPG of all time has to be Skyrim. When I first played it, I absolutely fell in love with exploring the world, fully immersing myself into this huge world, this huge open world, and just traveling around. Of course, I did the main quests and everything like that, but I just loved exploring and finding cities and just living the life in Skyrim, kinda. What I also love so much about Skyrim is that you have your own character. It's not like in The Witcher where you play as Geralt. And well, the character creator was okay-ish, but you know, it was still, it did its job. I loved it. And what I love about the world is that it's so big. It still feels alive due to all the animals, monsters, different biomes, different locations, hidden locations, and stuff you can find and explore, and just all the travelers, all the thieves, everything going on just makes the world feel alive. For me personally, my favorite location in Skyrim is like the hidden underground, underdark mushroom cave thing that you go to in the main quest somewhere there. I love to just spend as much time as I can there when I play Skyrim. Just absolutely love it. I love everything that has dragons and fantasy and all these fantasy creatures. It's just, I absolutely love it. I also love the magic in the game. I love the different guilds that you can join, that you could potentially become a vampire or a werewolf, and also that you have so many skills. You can make so many builds, alchemy, blacksmithing, also like one-handed, two-handed, you know, archery. Do you want light armor, heavy armor? I love that. Absolutely do. And you can, you can choose how you want to play the game, and that's, to me, that's amazing. And you can also, you can choose to buy a house, you can choose to marry, you can adopt children, and you can also have your companions, right? You can travel alone, you can have companions with you, or a companion. And I love that you can just, the freedom of playing is what makes Skyrim so good. for me personally and why it's my favorite. And of course, you know, mods can make everything better. Everything that's broken you can kind of fix with mods or change the graphics and all of that. But we all know why Skyrim is the best RPG of all time, and that's because it has the best AI ever created for companions.
What is happening, everybody? My name is Brightlife. This is my fancy suit, something that we do over on my channel, and I wanted to say thank you so much to Redbeard for having me on this channel. Redbeard is one of my heroes on YouTube. He makes such incredible content, and so to be asked to actually be in one of his videos is kind of like blowing my mind right now. I might get a little starstruck and I might faint. Who knows? We're going to keep going with it, though. Hey, I am an MMO content creator, so I tend to play games like Lord of the Rings Online, Guild Wars 2, old school RuneScape, games like that, and I've played MMOs ever since I was like 12 years old. I started with old school RuneScape on my mom's like old school HP Pavilion thing whenever she wasn't working. And I remember that I always loved the MMO more than I loved the RPG. I loved being massively multiplayer. I loved seeing people in the world. That always entranced me. But the role-playing game never really stuck until I played my favorite RPG of all time. And it was when my friends told me, dude, Brightlife, they call me Brightlife, you have to play Elder Scrolls Skyrim. And I'm probably just like a lot of other people right now, but I remember that it was that opening scene, that opening crawl with the dragon and all of the craziness, and it was starting to realize that there were these quests that would take you on incredible deep journeys. It was these dungeons that you would run through on your own, and I was terrified because even at 16 I was scared of the dark, you know, but I remember just falling in love with the idea of building my character and becoming more strong and more powerful. And you know what's funny is because of Elder Scrolls Skyrim, I make these things called States of the MMO on my channel, typically once a week, where we go through an MMO and talk about how it's doing right now. As I go through first impressions and reviews for these MMOs, I'm constantly looking for like that essence of Skyrim, that thing that really keeps that RPG flame alive in me. Do I fall in love with the characters in the game? Are the storylines compelling? Even to simple things like, can I see myself in this game? Those are just things that I absolutely love. And so I think that Skyrim's got to be my favorite, man. Thanks so much, Redbeard, for having me on. I say this at the end of every one of my videos, but it's really important. You're more loved than you know and so much more valuable than you realize. I hope that you all have an incredible day, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hi, everybody. My name's Liz. I'm Elizaliss on Twitch. And Red asked me and a few other people to talk about why we love RPGs and what our favorite RPG game is. And I have 4 main reasons why I love RPGs. Choices that matter, exploration, characters that are like likable or relatable, or they help bring you into the game, and then replayability. And everyone's gonna laugh at me saying replayability because, you know, I've played most of the RPGs I've ever played in my life at least like 6 or 7 times, and maybe I make the same decisions every time, but mind your business. But to me, the RPG that I love the best, that like, well, I love a lot of them, but the one that does a lot of this for me is the OG Mass Effect 1. The real main reasons for this are I love the characters. I love the characters in the original Mass Effect. It's you and your ragtag put together team of humans and aliens who all learn to like get along and work together, and who are there for Shepard. At the very least, some of them are there for Shepard, but like they see Shepard and they see so much inspiration from your character and who they are that like it draws them to your cause. I love the aliens they introduced and the way that even though things seem similar, there are still differences, and like we can relate to each species of alien too. And I think that's really cool and really important as well, because if we don't relate to characters, we're not gonna like characters. And I think they did a really, really good job of making it relatable for us so that we can like understand and like these characters, or, you know, for the bad guys, maybe understand where they're coming from, but like they still make you angry. And I just like the way I feel about Saren. I don't like Saren, or like I guess, you know, a better one would be Kai Lang, but that's the 3rd game. But Saren is such a good character, even though he's the bad guy. And a lot of people love him, even though he's the bad guy. And I think that's really, really cool. I love exploration in this game. It's so just what I think like space exploration for a lot of us when humans go into space is gonna be like. But there's just like this whole aspect of wonder to the exploration in the game as you're going. Even if the planet might seem similar to another one, every single planet is different. Every single thing you're gonna see there is different. And then the last one, which I really think like rounds out the whole game and honestly contributes to a lot of why exploration in this game is so good, is the music. The music in Mass Effect 1, it's so good. I was replaying the third game the other day, and the music from the first game came in during a scene, and I was just like, this is so good, because it holds so many emotions in it, and I just think that's really, really beautiful.
Hey everyone, I'm Vulkan, and I primarily cover action RPG games. So my favorite RPG of all time is Final Fantasy X. This was my first entry into the Final Fantasy series, and I was absolutely hooked from the title screen. Even the music, all of that, it just created this really wonderful experience for somebody who truly hadn't jumped into RPGs or JRPGs in his life at that point. The story of Titus, Yuna, and the overarching threat of Sin to Spira was my first sort of foray into a well-written story. Now, in terms of gameplay, I absolutely love the Aeon system, unlocking new summons, that way you could unleash them in combat. And then to complement that progression, you also have the Sphere Grid, which allowed you to spend points to unlock new passives. And then you wrapped all of that up into this huge open world to explore, and you have a fantastic game that keeps you playing. It was one of those I just truly, truly loved. It was also the first game I ever 100%ed, and it was worth every single second to do that. So if you haven't tried it out yet, Final Fantasy X is my recommendation, and there's even a remaster that you can check out that was released a few years ago.
Is your favorite RPG and why? Wow, Redbeard Flynn really put me on the spot with this one. Hi, I'm Tibik, and I stream on Twitch, mostly RPG games, because this is my favorite genre ever. I started my RPG journey ever since I got my first PC, and my first RPG game was Fallout 1. And since then, I fell in love with the genre. It's very difficult for me to answer this question because I have so many favorite RPGs that I cannot shut up about. But if I had to choose just one, I think it would be Dragon Age Origins. To me, it was revolutionary when it came out. I have never experienced anything like this in any RPG before that I played. It has an amazing universe, which is fantasy setting, but on the darker side, and also very unique at the same time. I have been a fan of BioWare RPGs ever since Baldur's Gate. And of course, when I learned that they are releasing a new game in a dark fantasy setting, I could not play it. To me, personally, one of the most important things in an RPG game is the story. And this is why Dragon Age Origins is my favorite game, because of the Origins stories. Every single one is unique. The choices that your character gets to make that affect the whole story and the outcomes of your journey, the characters that you befriend and fall in love with, all of this makes Dragon Age Origins made it such an amazing and unforgettable experience for me. Later in 2020, when I just started streaming, I decided to stream Dragon Age Origins on Twitch. And to my surprise, after more than 10 years, the game still holds up perfectly to modern standards. If you use some graphic enhancement mods, that is. But I mean, the gameplay and the story-wise. And of course, graphics are fine. I didn't have any trouble And the amount of amazing people that I met thanks to this game that became my community for years. I have this game to thank for so many things that happened to me ever since. Basically, this was the reason I decided to start streaming full-time and became a Twitch partner. All thanks to the game and to the people that I made through it. All of these things make Dragon Age Origins my favorite RPG of all time.
Hi guys, Asera here from Pantheon Plus, talking about my favorite RPG of all time. That was a tough one, and honestly, I would probably have a different answer, except I never finished playing Zelda Breath of the Wild. So that one probably would have been the winner, but my answer that I chose, and which would have been my close follow-up, I'm sure, if that had been the case, was Dragon Age Inquisition. And honestly, the whole Dragon Age series is excellent, and I really like how the stories feed into each other if you kind of choose that option. But Dragon Age Inquisition, I just thought went above and beyond. So the things that I liked about it, the level of immersion that you can have in this game is just amazing. Like the character storylines and the group banter, like when you create your group, they just suck you in so far. The side quests, the level of character or the level of detail in each like side character, and like every aspect of every quest and every like storyline you can follow, and also the environmental interaction, like the things that you can gather. There's the one horse race in the human area, I can't remember what it's called, but like, you know, getting to go do a horse race when you're first figuring out your mount and stuff. Super fun. I just love getting sucked in so far to the game. And along those lines, like the other thing I really like is just like the level of detail in the world and the characters in general. The amount of lore that you get to experience, learning about the wars of these different civilizations, all the like racial friction between the elves and the other races, and even the, I can't remember what they're called, but they're basically the French people. And all the other people, like it's just so dynamic and interesting. There's difference in different areas between like the geography is different from one place to the other, the culture is different from one place to the other, and there's so many secrets that you can find if you are like me and you have to complete every single map as much as possible. That's me. And also, I really love the customization in this game. Everything from like crafting your own gear and dyeing it and getting it to look exactly the way you want, to decorating the castle, and that goes back to finding all the secrets. There's so many things that you can find to decorate the castle the way you want. Yeah, everybody's favorite, the romance and friendship quests. I always make everybody my best friend as much as possible, except for the characters I really hate, and then the romance quests are just, you know, super fun, and they just make it feel so more realistic. And then this game was also just visually stunning, especially for when it was released, and I think it still is to this day. And, you know, that's when you're playing a game, it's always fun to really enjoy what you're looking at. So those are the reasons why Dragon Age Inquisition is my favorite RPG of all time. Red, thanks for having me in your video.
My favorite RPG just so happens to be an ARPG. It was Diablo 2. I believe it came out in like 1999, I want to say. Pretty old, at least for me. For starters, it was a game I grew up with, so it really reminds me of my childhood, so everything associated with that is a good memory. On top of that, it was also an RPG that had elements of MMOs, even though it wasn't an MMO. You could have lobbies up to 8 people, so there was like, you know, the leveling up, and it was grindy, because as you get closer to 100, that just takes much longer, and it's something you can't really achieve on your own. It's faster in the group, so the bigger the lobbies, you know, the more experience you get, also the harder the mobs. And yeah, just those elements. So I had a lot of grindy elements to it. Like as you get later in the game and you've beaten the story through the 3 difficulties, it gets more and more challenging as you go along. And I remember struggling once I got to Hell difficulty, and then that's where you really kind of team up in order to get through that until you have better gear and your character is a little more refined and stronger. But yeah, it was just like small elements like that which I really enjoyed. And I didn't really play any other like MMOs at the time or other RPGs for me to really appreciate those aspects of them. So this was the first game again to introduce all that to me, which I liked. Also, in terms of the time that the game came out, most other RPGs didn't really have voice actors. This one did. Every NPC had its own voice, and like would say things and would like narrate their dialogue, and I thought that was really cool, and that would immerse me in the storytelling of the game. It also had really nice cinematics. At the time, they were really nice cinematics. I have gone back recently to see them, and they're not as refined, but I still enjoy the storytelling, and you feel like your character is part of something bigger, which is always a good, element of an RPG. I like the customization of each character, even though your character isn't unique in terms of its appearances. All paladins look the same, all sorceresses look the same. There's no character customization, but in terms of skill trees and talents and all your abilities, you can really customize your character to make it unique to yourself, and no other character is going to have the same skills or the same abilities and be exact. Like, there's no carbon copy. If you're just playing it to have fun, your character is going to be like very unique, not necessarily good, but unique.
So this is where I tell you that I'm not going to tell you my favorite RPG of all time. In fact, I'm going to use this last bit of the video to highlight you and highlight what you have to say about the best RPG or your favorite RPG of all time and why. Plus, we all kind of know that my favorite RPG is probably either Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, Dragon Age Origins, or EverQuest if we're going to count MMOs. It's not exactly a shocker. Man, such a tough choice. Baldur's Gate introduced me to RPGs. Morrowind did the same for the Elder Scrolls series. KOTOR just had so many great moments. It might be a stretch to call it an RPG, but the original Diablo had so much playtime on it that I think they had to buy at least 3 times over the years because of lost or broken discs. I guess I will have to go with Baldur's Gate, since that was the only true RPG I ever played. I don't really consider games like Diablo, EQ, or WoW true RPGs for various reasons. Chrono Cross, amazing visuals for the time, vibrant, love for the combat, huge roster of characters to fit your style, and the OST was top tier, on the same level as Zelda games. Legend of Dragoon, PS1. EverQuest, nothing beat the immersion it had early on. The risk of exploring on your own, having to rely on others to form groups in order to advance, leading to many memorable adventures and friendships. No other game has come close. Since you did not specify which kind of RPG, I have to assume that you left that detail open-ended on purpose. For me, an RPG can be great for many reasons. Again though, for me, the one reason that has always overshadowed the rest is the opportunity to interact and create genuine, lasting relationships, both in and out of game. Sandbox MMORPG games unquestionably do this better than any other RPG format. In my opinion, still not one game has accomplished the facilitation of those opportunities better than EverQuest did in 1999. Now granted, an unfortunate amount of that magic has been lost over the years, but it's still my favorite. Smiley face. Final Fantasy VI. Beaten it more times than I care to try and count. The story was so good, the soundtrack is one of the best of the series, if not best. Dancing Mad still gives me chills. The character had such great depth, and the fact that once you got to the world of Ruin, the story is no longer on rails was such a good game. I would have to go with Final Fantasy VI. Has some well-placed humor, lots of heartbreak, and the world-ending event is cool. A bunch of choices you make have an effect in the game as well. Gothic 3, I have so many good memories playing that game. I think it's the reason I like MMOs. Gothic kind of plays like one. So it depends upon the genre of RPG. Most of these are my favorite though because they were the first of that genre that I played. Yes, I have major nostalgia goggles problem. JRPG, Legend of Dragoon, MMORPG, EverQuest, CRPG, Nox, or Quest for Glory series. Now I want to pause here and just say thank you, Morak, for mentioning Nox, because Nox was a game that I didn't actually remember. I remembered playing it, but I didn't remember the name until I did a Diablo 4 stream a couple weeks ago, and I was talking about this game where you got transported into a world like Diablo, and I was like, I remember that game so well, but I could not remember the name of it for the life of me, and now I know I can get it on GOG. Thank you. Skyrim, because of mods. The ability to create and use mods in an RPG has got to be the smartest thing a game company can do for their RPG. The base game is good, the world is really cool, the storylines are well done, but there's always something missing in RPGs. and allowing mods 100% fixes that. Spells aren't powerful enough? Don't worry, there's a mod for that. Want better textures or a different night sky? Try these mods, etc. Taking already great games and allowing the community to patch, implement on top of, creates this never-ending game loop that I really enjoy taking part in. Borderlands series, great mix of fun, jokes, and feeling of being OP, while also fighting some enemies that make you feel not so OP. Final Fantasy IX is still my top choice because of the epic story, dedication to high fantasy, engaging cutscenes, and amazing soundtrack to bring it all together. There you have it. There is obviously a lot of repeated names in this. A lot of people have coalesced around some of the same RPGs. Some people interpret it as single player RPGs, while others expand it out towards MMORPGs like EverQuest. I hope you enjoyed this video. I loved making it. Thank you to everyone who contributed to this video. Please go check out their channels below and give them some love and some good vibes, and I really, really appreciate you. Now, I also did this a couple months back with MMORPGs. These are kind of one of the things that I really love doing. I love collaborating with other creators, and I got the chance to collaborate with some creators that I never thought I'd be able to. And I did that over here. So if you want to check that one out, I did dress up as Sherlock Holmes and got in a shower and turned the shower on. So there's that. That's like the worst part of the video. But go ahead and check that out over there. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.